Did you see that when DB came back and played for us, that they got mad that our fan base was booing her?
I don't believe in booing former players unless they left on like some type shit.
You're watching the exact moment Sophie Cunningham blew up a decades-old playbook that's been quietly controlling WNBA narratives. What started as a casual podcast chat about DeWanna Bonner's messy departure has snowballed into something much bigger, and the old-school media gatekeepers are losing their minds. Here's what they'd rather you not notice. Sophie just proved that WNBA players like her, Caitlin Clark, and the Indiana Fever don't need ESPN, The Athletic, or any of the league's long-protected media darlings to control their own stories. She sidestepped every outdated channel, went straight to the fans, and racked up more real engagement than most established sports reporters can dream of in a year. For an industry built on acting as the middleman between athletes and the public, that's not just unsettling, it's existential. Show your support for Sophie by dropping a spicy Sophie in the comments. Let's go.
I like DB because like DB was one of my vets when I was in Phoenix, and then we gathered here into Indiana, and like it was kind of a surprise that she was signed to Indiana anyway, and so we'll take her in a heartbeat. Like she's a Hall of Famer, she's a hell of a basketball player, can score from anywhere on the court.
Before we unpack how Sophie accidentally exposed the cracks in the WNBA's media machine, go ahead and picture what the league would look like if players controlled their own narratives. No biased filtering, no anti-Clark spin, no agendas designed to pit teammates against each other. What Sophie just did goes far beyond the Bonner drama. We are watching the start of a new era, and it's one that could completely upend who gets to decide the story in women's basketball.
I just think, and you know way better than me,
Yeah.
but like, it just feels like people are jealous of this new little wave of.
They are, but I
rookies.
just hate that because like this is what we've always wanted as a league. So like who cares who gets the credit? And if you're smart, you're making money off of them.
Yeah.
Like you are literally making money from the viewership.
And why bully the person who is like not 100% responsible, but like has a huge role in growing your sport?
Dude, and it literally like pisses me off when people are like, she's not the face of the league.
Who would be?
What?
For years, the legacy sports media built walls around WNBA coverage, deciding which players got airtime and which stories fit the brand. Sophie just showed that those walls aren't stone. They're wet tissue paper. Let's break down how one unfiltered podcast episode revealed just how weak the system really is and why every major sports outlet is now scrambling to lock down player partnerships before they lose the narrative altogether. The warning sign was in the numbers. Sophie's following has quietly surged past 1.6 million on TikTok and 1.1 million on Instagram, bigger than the combined reach of many of the WNBA's so-called insider reporters. She built that empire while ESPN was busy pretending Caitlin Clark's record-breaking nights weren't newsworthy.
I went from I think like
Followers, yeah.
350,000 and like maybe 200,000 on TikTok.
You had 200,000 on TikTok a month ago?
No,
Before the fight.
before the fight, and then I had like 350 on 100,000 on Instagram over the night, or over like a day and a half, over 1 million on both. Insane. This is coming from me though, dude.
That's
I got tired of
crazy.
seeing myself,
I get it.
and I love myself.
I get it.
I love myself. I was over it.
And here's the part that flips the whole game on its head. Sophie didn't get there by kissing the ring of the old guard. She got there by speaking the language actual fans understand: unapologetic, competitive, and real. While some players worked overtime to make sure the media kept them in a safe, polished bubble, Sophie went direct to the people, giving them something they weren't getting from ESPN's safe for broadcast soundbites: authenticity. That's the exact moment the power shifted. Sophie didn't whisper her intel to a reporter. She didn't gift wrap it for The Athletic. She didn't even tease it on Twitter first. She sat down with her Show Me Something co-host and dropped a truth bomb that flipped the Bonner controversy on its head. No editors, no spin, no corporate PR script, just raw, unfiltered truth for anyone who wanted to hear it. In the old days, if a player had the inside scoop on locker room chaos or shady exits, it would trickle to a beat reporter, get massaged into a carefully sourced piece, and be spoon-fed to the audience on the media's terms. Timing? Controlled. Framing? Controlled. Impact? Controlled.
But she got to Indiana and she just like really wasn't happy. And like, I want people to be happy. So that's why I'm kind of like neutral on this one, which a lot of people are surprised about. She's towards the end of her career. So like, she deserves her flowers. She deserves to be happy. But I also think that if you're going to leave, like, you're going to have to expect getting booed. Like,
Was there explanation when it happened? No. Not even privately? Yeah, I mean, okay. That's tough. And, yeah, okay. Well, I did say what? Unless you leave on some you type shit, and that's what that is, so.
yeah.
Sophie looked at that and said, yeah, no. She told it herself, and she told it better than any outsider could because she was there, living it. She had the first-hand credibility, the context, and the platform to drop it without asking anyone for permission. A level of freedom the establishment media doesn't want Caitlin Clark or any Fever player to have.
Like, I'm still rooting for her. Like, I want her to end her career and be happy. But I also think that, like, it's okay to be professional about it. And, like, send a text to your teammates. Send a text and be like, hey, like, love you guys. Or you don't even have to say love you guys. Just like, hey, sorry this didn't work out. Good luck. Da-da-da-da. You know what I mean? Like, there's a way to handle that, I think.
And here's the strategic bombshell everyone else missed. Sophie's podcast isn't just her in a garage with a microphone. It's distributed by Colin Cowherd's sports media empire, The Volume. That's the first major crossover between a WNBA player's content and mainstream sports media muscle. They didn't bring her on out of charity or to support women's sports as a token gesture. They signed her because they saw what ESPN couldn't. That real player-driven storytelling crushes sterile, politically safe coverage every time. That deal alone sends a loud message. WNBA stars don't need to stay in their women's sports corner anymore. They can step straight into the mainstream sports arena and connect with a bigger, hungrier audience. One that's far less interested in protecting the old hierarchy and far more interested in hearing the truth. Sophie's success is going to make other players realize they don't need the middlemen. And that's exactly why the traditional media guard is starting to sweat. We're hearing reports that big sports networks are suddenly racing to sign WNBA players to their own shows. Why? Because Sophie proved there's a huge market for unfiltered player content, and fans will choose it over ESPN's corporate-approved narratives every single time.
There's really good, well-known people in our league. I'm not discrediting them. Like, we have a lot of badasses in our league.
Yeah.
Like, hell yeah to that. I'm all for that. But when people try to argue that she's not the face of our league,
Yeah.
or if our league would be where we're at without her, you're dumb as shit.
Yeah.
You're literally dumb.
Sophie's breaking the league's Protect the Veterans Code, the one that says you never criticize the inner circle, you never expose the politics, and you never give fans a reason to question certain sacred cows. Sophie looked at that unspoken agreement and called it what it is: broken. She told the truth about Bonner's messy exit, not because it was easy or safe, but because it was real. And that willingness to put truth over politics? That's exactly what new WNBA fans, especially Caitlin Clark's massive fan base, have been starving for, while the old media has been too scared to touch it.
One of the biggest stars the WNBA's ever
Who's that?
had. Her name rhymes with Schmaitland.
Hurtland?
Yeah. What has that been like, seeing her not only kind of transform a league, but also just be like,
No,
is that fair to say?
not even just the league, but like
The
women's
sport?
basketball as a whole around the
Yeah.
world. No, I think it's awesome. I think it's so funny because she's like 22, 23 years old and the whole world is watching her.
Yeah.
That fiery defense of Caitlin Clark? That was Sophie Cunningham speaking straight to the very fans that the old WNBA media machine has been pushing away for months. While legacy journalists wrapped Clark's story in cautious, she just needs time narratives and hollow calls for balance, Sophie flat out called the Clark critics dumb as hell. And she meant every syllable. That's not only authentic, it's a calculated masterstroke. Sophie zeroed in on the league's fastest-growing, most passionate fan base, Clark's, and spoke their language, not the stale jargon of the media establishment. She chose expansion over exclusion, and her engagement numbers prove the gamble paid off.
You have seen players in our league try to like toughen up Caitlin. We call her CC. CC. for even when I wasn't on her team, like I know the talks that Phoenix had in the locker room of like, no, we're gonna show her what the W really is. You know what I mean? And like I get it to a certain extent, and like every rookie coming into the league, that's how you're gonna treat them. But there's just more.
The traditional sports press wants players to stick to sanitized, sponsor-approved quotes because it keeps them as the necessary interpreters. But when Sophie speaks directly and unapologetically, that entire middleman layer becomes pointless. Fans don't need a reporter to clarify her meaning. She says it plainly, and everyone gets it. That alone sends shivers down the spine of traditional journalists. If players like Sophie and Caitlin can reach millions, build massive followings, and control their stories without the gatekeepers, then what exactly are the gatekeepers selling? Their entire business model was built on controlled access. They had the relationships and platforms that players supposedly needed. Sophie just proved that was never true.
So it's her second year, and like now being on her team and like seeing it, I'm like, what are people doing? Like, actually, it's just too much, and like it's just I'm over it. And if I'm saying it's too much, then.
And this shift isn't just about one player finding her voice. Sophie's success is setting a new standard for how every WNBA player communicates. Fans are now demanding the same level of raw, unfiltered honesty from others. The cookie-cutter, PR-approved responses that used to be the norm? They're now seen as fake and corporate. Other players are looking at Sophie's numbers, at the power she's built, and asking themselves why they still let media gatekeepers filter their words when they could be speaking directly to the people. The incentive system has flipped entirely. Here's the prediction that will keep traditional editors up at night. Within 6 months, at least a handful of big-name WNBA players will launch their own shows, following Sophie's cut out the middleman blueprint. The proof of concept is right there. Sophie didn't just dent the WNBA's media machine. She exposed that the thing was fragile all along. The structure only worked because players believed they needed traditional coverage more than traditional coverage needed them. Sophie shattered that illusion and showed that a direct, authentic connection to fans is far more valuable than scripted corporate messaging.
Yeah. Like, I'm not saying that your job is easy, but when it is a simple call right in front of your face multiple times, what are you doing? What are you doing?
What call are you like bugged out?
All of them.
Most, everything?
Like, it's just like they're just so inconsistent. Like, that's my thing. Like, if you're on the other team and you're going to be finding the shit out of me, cool. But let me do it to you.
You know
what I mean?
Want
like
consistency then.
Yeah, like just give. And I think that's players across the league and like new fans across the country. Like everyone's like, what is going on with the refs? And I'm like, I don't know. And you finding me $500 is not going to do shit.
And here's the part the old guard never understood. Sports fans aren't tuning in for safe, polite exchanges. They're here for rivalry, competition, and emotion. For years, WNBA coverage has been sanitized into a bland, everyone respects everyone narrative to avoid controversy. Sophie proved that it's exactly the opposite. Conflict draws crowds, and genuine emotion drives loyalty. She turned tension into traction and criticism into credibility. From a business standpoint, that's a massive shift. What Sophie's doing is going to change how WNBA contracts are written. Media appearance clauses, social media restrictions, and sponsor obligations will all be up for debate because players now know their standalone market value. If Sophie can reach 1.6 million people directly without a PR filter, why would she agree to be muzzled? If her truth-telling pulls in more engagement than any pre-approved talking point, why would she stick to the script?
And there's a couple girls in there too.
Dumb question. If someone were to like say someone called men's basketball their whole life and then went over to women's, would they be expected to call the game differently? Just given like the style and like physicality and stuff like that?
The balance of power has flipped and the scramble is on. Some media outlets will try to adapt by loosening the reins and offering more freedom within their platforms. Others will cling to old-school access journalism and rely on team pressure to keep players in line. But the smartest operators, they'll pivot entirely, partnering with players instead of trying to control them. And make no mistake, this isn't just a WNBA shift. Sophie's model could work in any pro sport. Direct, unfiltered athlete voices will always beat sterilized corporate content when the storytelling is strong. Fans will take the word of someone who was in the locker room over a polished column from someone who wasn't there every single time. The old way treated players as sources and fans as consumers. Sophie's way treats players as creators and fans as part of the conversation. That's the root of the current media meltdown.
The thing that I have the biggest issue about the female sides of refs is like they're so emotional. Like the guys, no, the NBA officials, like the NBA players fuck those officials like no other.
Yeah.
Like I've worked broadcast, I've been to games, I'm friends with these people. They fuck them.
Yeah.
And the only person that I've ever seen able to like mother a ref on the women's side is Diana Taurasi.
And they like take it.
Yeah, they had to.
Yeah, they have
and
to.
like, but when she's probably one of the worst people that I've seen go after refs.
What's even scarier for the old media guard? Sophie's influence isn't tied to her box score. Her platform lives and breathes independent of her on-court stats. She's proven that a player doesn't have to be a league MVP to be a media powerhouse. They just have to be authentic, engaging, and willing to speak directly to their audience. That's a complete rewrite of the media power structure, where previously only the stars had a megaphone. The Bonner situation might have lit the match, but Sophie used it to showcase a whole new playbook for athlete-fan communication. Being real, even if it ruffles feathers, generates more loyalty and interest than the most polished press release. She skipped the translators and went straight to the fans who actually care. The outlets that adapt to this will survive by collaborating with athletes. The ones that don't will fade into irrelevance.
Now, like the refs, and I'm not saying they're emotional, like the men and women, it doesn't matter the gender.
Yeah.
On our side, they are too emotionally invested and they can't take it. And I'm like,
Is it new to the WNBA that you guys are like maybe talking more shit back to refs, or has that been a thing forever?
oh, it's always been a thing.
What we're seeing now is the dawn of athlete-owned sports media, and Sophie Cunningham has become the face of the movement, whether she planned to or not. The old guard has a choice: evolve and offer something players actually need, or watch their relevance dissolve as stars like Sophie and Caitlin Clark build their own direct empires. The WNBA media landscape from even half a year ago is already gone. It just hasn't had the funeral yet. Sophie proved that when players have the platform, authenticity will crush corporate messaging every time. And now every player knows they don't have to play the access game, which is why the traditionalists are in full-blown panic. Their system relied on fake scarcity and controlled access. Sophie obliterated both. Show your support for Sophie by dropping a spicy Sophie in the comments. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.